Germany was, and still might be, the greatest power in Europe. The modern German state was the most successful European power and created a blueprint for the modern Europe. Germany proved through conflict that a powerful economy, good political leadership and nationalism, powerful organized military, and technological modernity and cultural excellence were the key aspects of a powerful state. Through the wars of unification, political and cultural disputes through the late 1800s, and World War I, Germany showed to all the world what the modern Europe should look like. New countries forged by blood and iron in the blossoming industrial and cultural era. Germany was destined to succeed, and there were many reasons why. It's very important to look at Germany before unification to understand what happened after. Before there was Germany, there were many different kingdoms thrown around the area between Russia and France. At this time, Europe was in turmoil because of Napoleon. Prussia, the leading force in the German unification, was one of the primary forces at Waterloo, and had invested resources into the Second Napoleonic War. Germany first showed their industrial and cultural strength in the Napoleonic Wars by being able to produce enough weapons and muster enough men to fight off Napoleon. Their success in the Napoleonic Wars was the first sign of German supremacy in Europe. Also, this war had the different German kingdoms fighting together, which began to create a single German mentality. Germany had a very powerful military. Their strength came from two things. Firstly, they had manpower. Germany had a large amount of manufacturing. They designated a good portion of their production to weapons, ammo, and other military equipment. Germany showed their strength in the Austro-Prussian War, learning the use of higher quality and state-of-the-art breech-loaded weapons and a superior force. Again, they succeeded in the Franco-Prussian War, but that was because of their second advantage, their leadership. Through German political mastermind Otto von Bismarck, a certain Helmuth von Moltke the Elder rose through the upper ranks of the Prussian general staff, who were the king's personal war advisors. Moltke, through use of railway maps, was able to deduce a plan of attack into France, which he used to score victories at Speicheren, Worth, Gravelotte, Mars-la-Tour, and Metz. With help from other German kingdoms, Prussia was able to swiftly transport its invasion force of 450,000 men to counter France's mere 270,000, laying siege to Paris, annexing northern French land, and even capturing the king, Napoleon III. The use of railways as such a crucial part of a plan of attack had never been used so effectively, and trains would be used this way, primarily, until the end of World War II. Germany again showed their military might in World War I with the Great Retreat. In 1914, Germany was destroying Western Europe. British forces were in full retreat in Belgium to the last Allied Belgian fortress. The French were decimated. In a quote from historian Martin Gilbert, not only might the war be over before Christmas, it seemed, but it might be over with a German victory. While the war was a loss for the Germans, the Axis forces still scored massive victories and fought so powerfully that it took the invention of the tank, possibly the most effective weapon ever invented, to stop their immense force. Part of Germany's massive success is attributed to their economy. Germany has massive amounts of natural resources. Germany produced 1,770 metric tons of iron from 1875 to 1879 and produced 65.7 million tons of coal from 1880 to 1888. Germany's GDP per capita in 1871 was 1,817 international dollars and rose to 2,428 international dollars by 1890. Germany also held 13.2% of all the world's manufacturing in 1870. Another attribute of Germany that contributed to their success is having the largest population in Europe, with 39 million people in 1870 and then growing to 47 million by 1890, and by World War I having amassed 66 million citizens. A large population means that you not only have a large workforce, it also means that you can have a formidable military force. The military creates safety from other countries while part of your workforce keeps the military running. As long as you have resources to use, your safety assurance machine will always function, leading to a safe country, which leads to a safe economy. A safe economy means that more new business will be brought into your country and existing business will stay. Germany was favored when the cycle began in their country because the political elite were able to provide safety all the way till the Great Depression. The economic cycle was stable for all of that time, leading to a prosperous Germany. Germany had many cultural strengths. Firstly, Germany had an extremely nationalist people. While some say this created arrogance in the German people, many countries followed suit and, through revolutions, wars, or cultural influence, became more nationalist themselves. This nationalism greatly helped the German unification and also helped the decisions made by the German government as a result of having more support from the people. Secondly, Germany possesses an exceptional education system. By 1860, Germany had 23 colleges and began using their own Humboldtian model of higher education, which eventually became one of the few international standards for colleges. In 1850, Prussia had just around 20% of its citizens illiterate, and Germany as a whole only about 30%, excluding Austria. This led to a highly educated workforce, which led to further industrialization and growth. At its heart, German unity stems from politics. Germany would not have been unified without the massive contributions from one politician, Otto von Bismarck. Bismarck was born in 1815 on April 1st. Bismarck originally was a Junker, or an aristocratic landowner, in Pomerania. Though that was his inheritance, he was a diplomat and also served in the military before he began to take over and manage his estate. Bismarck's idea of unification was conceptualized while he was the foreign representative to the Diet of Frankfurt after Austria's revolution, when the Austrians began to reassert control over the German Confederation. After serving as representative to Russia and then France, Bismarck had created a full idea of German unity under Prussia. He had served as a diplomat for 11 years, and in September of 1862, Bismarck became the Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Prussia. Bismarck used his seat of power to carefully orchestrate the Austro-Prussian War and Franco-Prussian War. In both engagements, Bismarck used his masterful planning skills to enact his plan of Prussian supremacy over Europe. For instance, the Franco-Prussian War was caused by a dispatch edited by Bismarck from Wilhelm I of Prussia to Napoleon III of France to insult him. The dispatch was sent as an outcome of Bismarck convincing Wilhelm I to try and seat a Prussian on the Spanish throne, an outcome that Bismarck had intended to occur. Bismarck continued to perform feats like this all through the years of unification, and in the end achieved his goal of German unity. While the topic is debated, it is undoubtable that Bismarck provoked wars with Prussia's neighbors to weaken them and allow the new Germany the luxury of not having to worry about attacks and wars. Bismarck knew that the new German state would need safety from its neighbors, and he not only achieved that, but he also strengthened German nationalism as a whole. Bismarck maintained stable foreign policy for the rest of his career as Chancellor of the German Empire. Some say Bismarck's career only goes down after this, with failing domestic policy and his eventual demise in 1890. While these statements are true, the ideas that his policies represented did far more than the goals they failed to achieve. Firstly, his bills against the church helped reinforce the idea that this is a time that moved away from religion dictating people's every moves. His anti-socialist ideals reaffirmed the fact that the following decades would be a fight of political ideologies and wars between states of rival political outlook, while his socialist reforms show that this is a time for the common people, not just the aristocrats who in the end decided their moves. Bismarck went down in history as being ahead of his time and contributed to building the strongest country in Europe. His actions helped create the German blueprint for the modern Europe. The German blueprint was created from German influence on Europe. The quote-unquote blueprint was the ideas that the modern Germany represented. For instance, German-caused wars in Europe led to revolution, and the revolutions caused countries to move away from the church. This was supported by Bismarck's anti-church policies, which led to a general lack of church power in the coming decades. Another idea that Germany represented and reinforced was industrialization. Not only were other countries pressured by German industry to further industrialize, they were also forced to industrialize because of war, caused by Germany, which required massive amounts of resources to go about. Furthermore, Germany proved that national loyalism and a powerful military are important factors to a powerful country through their complete decimation of Europe in World War I and II due to their massive growth in the late 1800s. Finally, and possibly most importantly, Germany and its creation introduced the idea of not just unity within European areas, but unity in Europe as a whole. Further reinforced by the German-caused World War I and World War II, Europe eventually, at least politically, unified itself with the creation of organizations like the EU, NATO, and treaties signed throughout the 1900s to combat communist pressure in German Soviet Russia. German influence on Europe is undoubtable, and their blueprint of ideas for the modern Europe shaped and continues to shape European politics, trade, and culture. The creation of Germany was the culmination of an era. When Germany was unified, it ended the age of principalities and duchies and led into an era of massive powerhouses. It ended an age of manpower and created an age of machines. The Franco-Prussian War ended the cavalry charge. Bismarck ended soft diplomacy and replaced it with its blood and iron policy. Germany was the first country in a modern Europe, a continent with nations of industry, education, and countries with the ability to simultaneously tear the world apart and bring it closer together than ever before.